Hello, Packers fans. Welcome into PackersNews.com. I'm Kassidy Hill here from Lincoln Financial Field. Inside, as you can tell tonight, one of those weeks where we can't be on the field just yet, but a couple of hours, 2 hours and 20 minutes away from kickoff here, which of course also means about um, an hour away from inactives coming out, or about 30, 45 minutes away from inactives coming out. We'll have lots of questions, of course, around those inactives when they do come out. Will David Bakhtiari be playing? Will Elton Jenkins be playing? Will Devondre Campbell be playing? Linebacker Devondre Campbell, who, of course, has not played since injuring that knee in the first half versus the Buffalo Bills. He was considered doubtful on the Friday injury report, but did practice this week for the first time since injuring that knee versus the Bills. In his place, of course, Quay Walker has been playing a lot and calling the plays. Eric Wilburn, Isaiah McDuffie. But having Devondre Campbell back, especially against a guy like Jalen Hurts, can be huge for the Packers as their season is on life support. It is essentially a one-game season here on out for the final 6 games. If you have any hope of getting into the playoffs, you have to win the next 6 games, and that starts tonight against a tough task in the 9-1 Eagles. Eagles are considered a 6.5 point favorite here at home, of course, primetime game in one of the tougher places to play. And we talked a lot this week with the Packers about what it takes to contain a guy like Jalen Hurts. And so many of them said, it's about stopping your rush lanes. Of course, that's easier said than done. And staying in those rush lanes and not letting him be able to get downfield on you. And because Jalen Hurts is still a pocket pass or a pass first quarterback, for as much as he uses his legs, he likes to get downfield first, and he runs as a very last option. Because of that, I expect to see a lot of zone from Joe Barry's defense, which I know makes a lot of people probably want to pull their hair out when you hear that. And most weeks, especially with the talent they have, yes, it makes sense to go more man, which is why it can be frustrating when you see them play zone. But against a quarterback like Jalen Hurts, against this offense, you really don't want to ever turn your back to the quarterback. So expect to see a lot of zone tonight, a lot of keeping their eyes on the quarterback. If things go the Packers' way, that could be one of those games where Rasul Douglas finds himself a pick, maybe even Jair Alexander. But this is the kind of game and the kind of offense that lends itself to a Rasul Douglas turnover. Although he's had trouble finding them this year, he did get one last week though. So his first or his second of the season, and maybe he's now that he's got one under his belt, he can start getting a couple more. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments. We'll get them here as we move along. This week in the locker room, though, of course, one of the big conversations was Aaron Rodgers' thumb. He finally sort of confirmed for the first time since hurting it in the Giants' loss in week 6 that it is broken, and it's a broken thumb on his throwing hand. He had a lot to say about the broken thumb and what sort of impact it's made on his game thus far, and what sort of impact it might have had on the offense, whether or not he should have even played the past few weeks as it recovered, and if he can continue to play through it. I'm going to pop this up just so y'all can hear. We might not listen to the whole thing. But as I said, a lot from Aaron Rodgers this week on his broken thumb. Let's hear what he had to say.
Have you ever played with a broken thumb before this year?
No, broken index finger, pinkies. But no.
Was surgery ever considered?
No, I don't think so.
Just it's not like DAC or those guys. It's not as severe as
I don't know what
those
they
guys.
had, but it probably wasn't. No.
I know you never use it as an excuse. You've mentioned it basically every week, but at the same time, I would guess throwing a football with a broken thumb's probably not the easiest thing in the world. Just how big of a challenge has that been?
I think I've had worse injuries I've played with. So, definitely a challenge, but the days off helped. Feeling better this week.
Any worse though that directly affects how the ball comes out though?
So,
And those other injuries they didn't affect how much the ball came out though?
well, when I hurt my knee in 18, I was, you throw from the ground up, so that was definitely difficult on the footwork and plant leg. But when I broke my index finger in college, that was probably a slightly more important finger to deal with. But remember, as I practiced, and Coach Tedford said, I don't care what's hurting. You got one day off, and if you miss another day of practice, you're the backup again. So there was no choice.
When 53 hit you from behind in the Giants game, did you know if it hit the helmet or the ground? Or I mean, I know it was a big hit.
Yeah, I don't know for sure. Just know on the flight home I was in some pain, and actually didn't even want to get X-rayed because I was still going to play. It didn't matter what the X-ray showed, but they talked me into it. So.
Is this something that might need to get fixed after the season?
I don't think so.
So you mentioned rehab a bunch of times. How do you rehab something that's broken?
It's a good question. They got a lot of different machines in there, though, Bill. You'd be surprised. So that's just any of the modalities in there, and it's a lot of grip stuff. So, but like I said, the 5 days off was nice, and had a full practice today with under center snaps, so I felt good.
Aaron, I understand you're enjoying this topic immensely, but
I don't mind. It's just, I felt like we were past that first part.
Yeah, but you never actually told us it was broken, right? Like publicly. So what
It didn't make a difference.
It doesn't.
It doesn't make a difference with me playing. That doesn't make a difference. You
Right.
saw the tape on my thumb. Didn't make a difference.
So I'm wondering though, like you said to Pat yesterday, that people get all excited. 2 throws that you make 99 times out of 100. Do you make them 100 out of 100 if you're not playing with a broken thumb?
No, I don't think so.
So you're
I think
saying
there's one in every 100 that doesn't come off the right way.
So the throw to Allen, which obviously was a crucial throw in that game that you don't miss, and it sure looked to me like Allen was surprised that it wasn't on target, that he didn't even react necessarily, right? You're telling me that has nothing to do with your thumb. That just was a crummy throw by you?
Yeah,
You saying that because you don't want to use it as an excuse, or because that's the truth?
I think that's the truth.
Okay.
I really do. I think it's the truth. My thumb was hurting a lot worse than the Dallas game, and I put the ball where I wanted it to.
Well, why? How is that possible then?
Good question.
Thank you. You don't have an answer?
I don't have a great answer for you.
Okay.
Pre-Dallas, how much, if at all, was it impacting you pre-Dallas game, between the Giants game and the Dallas game, those other games?
Yeah, more during the week. I didn't take a lot of under center snaps during the weeks leading up to it, but it's about the same every week. It didn't really get any better. It didn't get significantly worse. There'd be a couple plays every game, maybe a snap slightly inside or a hit that might jolt it a little bit, but just dealing with the occasional kind of dull pain and working through it.
Is that at least a reason why you've done so much shotgun rather than under center?
I don't think so. No, because I told him, I said, don't hold anything back. Like, let's go under center. I'll be fine on Sundays.
But this is the best it's felt since before the Giants game.
Yes.
As we heard there from Aaron Rodgers on the broken thumb and what he kind of thinks the issue could be with it and how much he can play through it. Of course, we'll have to see again tonight versus a Philly secondary that is leading the league in interceptions and turnovers, the best turnover margin in the league, the most takeaways in the league, second best passing defense in the league, but a 19th ranked rushing defense. In a way, it's much the same game plan you could have run against the game plan that the Packers ran against Dallas, where you can run and that opens up the pass, because the only defense in the league that's better than Philly at the pass defense is Dallas. And so do you see them sort of run the same game plan tonight as they did in that win versus the Cowboys a couple of weeks ago? Of course, Philly's also a little bit stronger, especially on that back end. As we said, a secondary that leads the league in takeaways between Bradbury, Slay, and Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. All three who will stay in Rodgers' eyesight all night and make sure that they can jump those passes against a guy that that has thrown more interceptions this year than he has in many of his past years. Let's see, we have some questions coming in. This one made me laugh. Can Joe Barry be an active? Asking for a friend. Well, Miss Tina, I think if Matt LaFleur wants to keep this train moving, he might take over Joe Barry's defense tonight and have someone else call the plays. But again, this is also going to be one of those games where you have to play more zone just because of the quarterback you're playing, and that plays right into Joe Barry's hands. So do we see them do that tonight? Isaiah's asked, Geno's or Pat's? I didn't have either. I had someplace called Carmen's in the Reading Market Terminal, and you know what? It was still pretty good. I saw Mark Murphy there. He went to another place to get his because it had a shorter line, And granted, he was done eating before I even got my sandwich, but it was still a pretty good sandwich. Reva asked, do you think it obviously affects him? I'm assuming this is about Rodgers and his thumb. I think it does. I think you have to look at his game so far this year. And I don't think it's completely changed the game. I don't think it's been bad enough that you need to go to Jordan Love, because you look at what he was doing in the 6 weeks before he hurt it, or the 5 and some odd weeks before he hurt it, and then after he hurt it. Since the Giants game, including the Giants game, I think his completion percentage dropped from the high 60s to 63. His yards per game passing was in the high twos, and it dropped to like 229. His touchdown to interception has been like 13-4 since that Giants game, and his QBR has been around 95. Not Aaron Rodgers numbers, but not bad numbers at all. And so I think it obviously has affected him doing what we expect Aaron Rodgers to do, but it has not been enough to justify putting Jordan Love in just yet, because a hurt Aaron Rodgers can still be better than a lot of other quarterbacks. And I think part of the issue was the thumb, along with not having a consistent group at wide receiver. The fact that you've had Allen Lazard and Sammy Watkins, Randall Cobb back for the past couple of weeks, not hurt, along with Christian Watson really coming on, has been super helpful for this offense. And let's not forget, they were always going to be a bad matchup against Tennessee. And so I don't necessarily put a lot of that. You need to find a way to win that game, but that's not necessarily indicative of Aaron Rodgers, his thumb, and who this offense can be. Let's see, we've got a couple more here. Craig says, I remember a couple of years ago before you arrived, meaning me, Hurts was able to convert on 4th and 26 at Lambeau. Packers D need to be prepared for situations like this so they don't get hurt again. That's exactly it. And that's why I'm saying I think they're going to play. They're not going to turn their backs to him tonight. They're going to keep their eyes on Jalen Hurts the whole time and try to keep him from getting downfield on them, because he can do that in a hot second. Let's see. If you have any more questions in here. Heard Leonard didn't get the Badgers job. Will the Packers hire? Your question is your question is a good one, Rayva, and your guess is as good as mine. I will say that when I heard that it was not going to be Leonard at Wisconsin, the first thought was, is that because he's already on the hook for Packers DC? Or did they think they just would never get Luke Finkel? I think that has more to do with it, is they didn't think they would actually get Luke Finkel from Cincinnati than they were able to. But does that cause Leonard to come in after the Packers DC job? See a couple other questions in here. One has a derogatory statement in it, so I'm not going to put it up, but it's about a question and answer back and forth I had with Aaron Rodgers. I would say, Ryan, if you go back and listen, that he had not yet actually said it was broken, and this is a man who is very clever with his words and knows how to spin them, and that's a compliment to him. He knows how to say exactly what he wants to say, and he had not actually said or completely confirmed yet that the thumb was broken at that point in the question and answer session. And this was a man who made a lot of people think for a long amount of months that he was vaccinated when he was not, because of the words he chose. So I stand by the decision to ask a clarifying question, but thank you for your opinion there. Brian asked, how bad is Love that they don't trust him to play for a couple weeks to get the thumb better for Rodgers? Well, Brian, I think that kind of goes into what we were talking about, that, Rodgers, I think, lost a little bit of his touch because of the thumb. But is it the decision-making? Is it the rope and the zip he can put on a ball and get it downfield to his guys that make him still valuable and make him worthy of having in there over Jordan Love? I think if they are out of playoff contention, we might actually see Jordan Love, and you could put Rodgers on IR, because this is a quarterback class coming up where you're probably going to have a top 10 pick if the season keeps going the way it has been, and you want to know what you have in Jordan Love, and not saying play him over Rodgers in terms of like for the rest of the couple of years here, But go ahead and put Rodgers on AR. Let the thumb completely heal. Figure out what you have in Love. Maybe raise his trade value and figure out if you want to use what's possibly a top 10 pick on a quarterback coming up to back up Aaron Rodgers for the next year or two and really sort of set yourself up for the future. So we could see that happen over the next 6 weeks once they are mathematically out of playoff contention here. Okay, let's see if we have any other questions in here. Okay. Ed says Pack won't be able to win any more games till they can get a big front line. Also, split ends fast and smart. Fast running back, 2 or 3 of them. Start picking up the ones that are sitting at home. I think they have a fast running back and then they have a big running back. But I see what you're saying is you want someone who can sort of do both. Maybe more of like a bowling ball who can really get north and south, get downhill. You could see that coming up in the next draft because you get someone like Braylon Allen. But then again, you would probably need a second first-round pick to get someone like that. This is an offense, if they stay with Matt LaFleur's offense, that is predicated on the run, and that's what opens up the pass. And so, yes, that is the sort of running back you need. It should be one of the best 1-2 punches in the NFL with Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon. But as we've seen so far this year, Aaron Jones has been able to get to the edge and really kind of get those yards that they need and pick up those downs that they need, where A.J. Dillon has sort of gotten bottled up more this year than he had in the past. And so, do you need to see a second Aaron Jones, so to speak, to run this sort of offense? I still think A.J. Dillon is a very, very, very good back and a good complementary piece to Aaron Jones. But, there could be something there. And they may have one of those guys on the practice squad with Tyler Goodson. He came in as a UDFA, but they really, really liked him so much so that, they felt comfortable getting rid of Kylan Hill because they knew that they had Patrick Taylor and then could bring Tyler Goodson up as well. Tyler Goodson is still very raw and needs another year possibly on the practice squad before you can really start putting him in games. And so that's a couple of years down the road, but I think you really could see something with Tyler Goodson there in the future. I think we're not too far away from inactives. So I'm going to get ready to sign off so y'all can go over to PackersNews.com and catch that. Make sure, like I said, Ryan Wood will have them there 90 minutes before kickoff. So should be in about 20-30 minutes here. Sorry, I'm trying to do the math real quick. And then Tom Silverstein will have his live blog before and during the game on PackersNews.com as well. Pete Doherty and I will have our post-game Facebook Live for you. And then Spoon, Ryan, and I will have the Green 19 podcast up for you first thing tomorrow morning as well. Thanks so much, guys. We'll see you next time.